So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. Sorry for no video yesterday, I really wasn't feeling too well, but yeah. Anyway, today's video guys, 4-3-3-4 variation, custom tactics and instructions to help you guys out if you are struggling in FC24 with your champs or whatever. And yeah, I don't know how long the video is going to be today, but we'll see. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable. And if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. Alright then guys, so starting off with the custom tactics for the defensive style, we have this on balance. This is the same for every formation I use really, and it's because it gives me the best control over my defense. So like when I want to press my opponent I can, and then if I want to drop off and then be a little bit more passive for example, I can also do that. So I like the control that balance gives me, but you guys can feel free to use whichever setting you like. Now moving on to the width guys, this has been upped in like the past week or so. The reason being was I was getting absolutely destroyed down the wing by having my width on like 35, so I've upped it to about 45, so it's still primarily nice and narrow, so we block out all those attacks through the middle, but we also have really good coverage of the wider areas to stop those attacks down the wing. And let's be real, that is the main place everybody goes to attack in this game guys. Now moving on to the depth, there are some different options you can use in my opinion. So one of the popular ones that people like to use is 71 depth because they get that automatic press from the AI. It's very strong, very overpowered, but me, I don't really like 71 depth anymore, I'll be honest, because it doesn't give me that control that I need over my defenders. So I like to manually defend as much as possible. So something like 60 is better for me because, you know, my players aren't always automatically pressing. I have a bit more control, which is why I do prefer 60 depth, because we still have that high defensive line, we just have a bit more control over our actual defenders. If this is still a bit too high for you guys, you can lower it even more and that is absolutely fine, but yeah. For the build-up play, I do suggest balance because it does give you the most controlled and varied forms of build-up. So if you want to play slow, for example, you can. And then if you want to speed up, maybe play a little bit faster, you can also do that. So it lets you mix up all the different play styles, all the different types of build-up, whenever you want, giving you more control and variety, which is why I like it so much. For the chance creation, guys, direct passing is still an absolute must in my opinion because it's the only setting which will allow you to break through that park the bus defense. So when you use direct passing, your attackers will commit these runs and then your opponent's defenders will follow that run, and then once the defender is committed, like overcommitted even, the attacker will track back so you can cut back to them and there's quite a bit of space there. So a very boring tactic but very overpowered nonetheless. It's also really good for the isolation plays because your attackers often bump up against the defenders, meaning you can isolate a specific defender and take them on. So direct passing an absolute must in my opinion. For the attacking width, I never used to use higher widths, but in this game, I kind of gave into it. You know, you pretty much have to go down the wing a lot of the time. So I've upped the width to 60, and it's been really, really effective. Not my personal favorite way to play, but there's no denying how effective it is. So yeah, 60 width on the attack. For the players in the box, guys, I have this on 6 at the moment. Get a few players into the box, but you don't overcommit everybody. Really nice and balanced in my opinion. And then the corners and the free kicks, I have them both on one, but you guys can again use whichever thing you like for this. Now, moving on to the player instructions, guys. On the striker, we just pop them on stay central and mixed attack. Now, we have them on stay central because we don't really want them drifting out into the wider areas. We've already got wingers in this formation, so we don't really need them to be in the wider positions. Stay central keeps them in the middle, where you want your striker to be, especially in a one-striker setup, so they can always be relied upon to help you out in attack. You know, they can get a little bit lost on balance width, in my opinion, so I don't really suggest it. I also have him on mixed attack as opposed to getting behind, because I feel like in a one-striker formation, you kind of need that striker to do a bit more than you would in a two-striker formation, because in a two-striker formation, you can balance out the responsibilities between the two players, but in a one-striker formation, they kind of have to overcompensate for the fact that there is one striker. So I prefer mixed attack as they help you out more in the build-up. Sometimes they'll get in behind, other times they'll come short, and it just seems to be a bit more effective. That being said, if you want to pop them on getting behind because you prefer that, you absolutely can, guys. Now moving on to the right winger and the left winger, I leave them on basic defensive support, pop them on cut inside, get in behind, and also get into the box for cross. Now I do leave them on basic defensive support. You know, we are trading off the fact that it won't defend in a 4-man midfield as such, but I think it's a decent trade-off because it means your wingers will pretty much be higher up the pitch when you win the ball back a lot of the time. If you pop them on comeback on defense, yes, you have a really nice solid defensive shape, but it takes these players a bit longer to get into the attack, and a lot of the time you won't be as fast on the counter attack. So I prefer basic defensive support as it keeps your attackers in those high positions and it's a bit easier to get going when you win that ball back. We also have them on cut inside, so they start their runs out wide and then they will transition into the more narrow areas. It's a really good attacking movement which is hard to mark for the opponent. It's one of the best attacking AI runs, I think, and I like it a lot. You know, it doesn't always mean they're going to run into the narrow areas. It just gives them a bit more movement in my opinion and makes their runs a little bit more effective. We also have them on getting behind, so they do utilize their pace to get in behind those high defensive lines that people like to use. I think this is a very important instruction on the wingers, otherwise they can be a little bit static and that is not good for us. We also have them on get into the box to cross, so they don't hesitate to get into the penalty area and help us out. Again, they can be a little bit static on balanced crossing runs and be yeah, they don't really do too much in my opinion. Now for the central attacking mid guys, we have them on come back on defense and get into the box across. This is kind of like a compensation thing for the fact that we don't make it defend in a 4-man midfield. So we make this cam come back to almost defend as like a third centre mid to kind of trade off for the fact that it doesn't defend in a 4-man. It's still, you know, really effective in the defense, I think. Maybe not as good as the 4-man, but it just means it's a bit more balanced. So you still have your 3 attackers in the attack at all times, and then you have like the 3 in the middle to help you out there. So I find this to be like a good balance thing, which is why I use it. We also have them on get into the box across, so they don't hesitate to get into the penalty area and help you out. I would suggest somebody with a high work rate in this position, otherwise they can be a bit slow to transition into the attack and the defense. But yeah, that's why Griezmann's so good in this position. For the left centre mid guys, the more defensive minded midfielder, stay back and cover centre. We have him on stay back, so yeah, we have our more defensive player back at all times. We don't really want him flying forward, and then we pop him on cover centre so that he will primarily cover those central areas as opposed to the wings guys. For the right centre mid, the more box-to-box style player, we leave them on the default settings and then pop them on cover centre. Default settings because they are a box-to-box player, so we don't just want to restrict them to defending all the time, for example. Sometimes we want them to attack, other times we want them to not. You know, it just gives them a bit of balance, bit of freedom, lets them do whatever they want, which is great for a box-to-box. Cover centre though, so they primarily cover those central areas when we are defending. For the fullbacks guys, on your more attacking one, I'd suggest just popping them on balance, so it gives you that extra option. Really underutilized, I find, people using fullbacks. They don't really use them that much, so I suggest using your attacking fullback to help you out, give you that extra player. Sometimes they'll overlap, sometimes they'll underlap, depending on the context, which is why I think it's so good. But yeah, make sure you send your attacking fullback forward, as I think it is really useful. For the other fullback guys, the more defensive one, stay back while attacking. This is so we always have at least 3 defenders back at a time to make us nice and defensively sound as well. And then for the 2 centre backs guys, I leave them on stay back. Obviously you don't want to touch them. And then the goalkeeper, you can pop them on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper if you would like, but I just leave them on balanced. And yeah guys, that is it for the video. There are my tactics for the 4-3-3. If you guys have enjoyed, please be sure to drop it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.